Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you here. XRP stealing the spotlight. Ripple's a gold partner. We got Stellar in the news. Gary Gensler testifies. You won't like it. And crypto, how the game is really played. We got the evidence that we're all being conned. That and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content right now. $1.08 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. The market is up 2.9%. Bitcoin now 26,200 plus, 1606 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap is 83.2 billion plus. XRP is 48 cents. The market is up on XRP 2.5% in the 24 hours, still off by 3.9 on the 7-day. Let's get started. Ominous indicators suggest the U.S. economy is heading towards a severe recession. It goes on to say here that they predict, this is Mike McGlone from Bloomberg, saying basically that he predicts another 2 years before we plateau is what he's looking at here. I'm not going to read the whole article because I've already done it, but that's basically what we're looking at. But I want to be clear. This is why I'm buying gold. Miles Franklin. You can get precious metals right here from Miles Franklin. I've just done it, and I'm about to get a bunch of silver to go along with it because I have a huge appetite for risk in crypto, but I like to hedge what I see going on in the world, and I do that with physical gold. I'll tell you what else I'm doing. It's Glint. He asked a question right here. It's the founder of Glint. It's Jason Cousins. Shout out to him. You hear rumors of a bank demise and fear a bank run. What do you do? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I buy gold with Glint because this gives me the ability to be my own bank, your own personal alternative to banking. Yes, that's right. Crypto, physical gold, and Glint. That's the way I really build a solid foundation as we move through the next couple years here, understanding what is in front of us. And I do believe there is going to be some turmoil. Make sure you prepare yourself. There's many ways that you can do it with our sponsors there. Click the links. Here we have the president of Queens College, Cambridge here says Bitcoin is not going to disappear. And I want you to hear this because this is why I am not actually turning away from Bitcoin, even though I understand there are some things that are troubling about Bitcoin. I'm going to have some exposure there regardless. Take a listen to this.
Indulge me for a second because we always have these crypto conversations, and there seems to be this thing happening. I don't know, Joe, we were talking about $25,000 with Bitcoin. Meanwhile, BlackRock and all of these folks, all the folks that we thought were never going to do this are now doing it, and yet it's not moving at all.
Well, it's moving today.
Well, I mean, sure, 26. This is 26.
It was 4 when we started saying it wasn't going anywhere. 4,000.
Oh, well, okay. But the question is this now a risk on, a risk off thing? How do you even correlate this to what's happening with the Fed? Because for a long time you used to talk about crypto in regard to the Fed.
So I think crypto is settling as part of the ecosystem. I think people have recognized it is not the new global currency. People have also recognized it's not going to disappear tomorrow. It's becoming institutionalized. And I think, actually, if I were a crypto person, I think this maturation process is a good thing.
And there you have that. And now, listen, we talk about maturation process. I want to talk about utility. And despite London being ready for XRP, Japan has stolen the spotlight, announcing a launch of XRP in September 23. And it's SBI, which is a seed investor. Now, we covered this the other day. But look, let's understand the difference here. I'm going to have exposure to both. But, you know, Bitcoin is something that people desire to buy and hold. It's not because of its utility, right? So that's very key. Where XRP, on the other hand, it is about its use case where the demand will come from. So keep that in mind as we move through this material going forward here. Then we learned CBDC conference, Ripple is a gold partner, R3 is a silver partner, and AWS, Amazon Web Services Worldwide Public Sectors, helps government, education, nonprofit customers deploy cloud services to reduce costs, drive efficiencies, and increase innovation across the globe. And here they are. You're not going to see Bitcoin anywhere, right? So I'm not cracking on. I'm not a maximalist. I'm telling you, I have exposure to both, but there's different reasons why I'm exposed to both. And regardless of my apprehensions about Bitcoin, you're going to see why before we get out of here today that I'm going to have exposure to it. Right here, how MoneyGram uses Stellar as a settlement asset. Take a listen to this. Pretty much the same way that XRP did before the court case. Shout out to Paul Taylor down below for that one. Take a listen here.
A bit more into the specifics of the integration. Again, for anyone not familiar, this is powered via Stellar's on and off ramp API, SEP24, and the settlement asset for this transaction is Stellar USDC. Stellar USDC is front-ended a bit in the flow. So your users will see USDC, as you can see up on the screen here, for the cash in and for the cash out, but we don't always expect it to be the destination asset. We consider this a cash to crypto play rather than a cash to Stellar USDC play. I also commented briefly on kind of the different use cases for custodial and non-custodial wallets. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are different onboarding paths for both. Custodial wallets are required to be licensed in the jurisdictions in which they operate this product. Non-custodial wallets do not share that requirement. And then I'd also call out that the KYC is collected by MoneyGram via an in-app web view, but we get questions all the time about this. If your user has already submitted KYC once, it will pre-populate going forward, so it should be a really seamless user experience.
So there you have it. Again, more utility, right? That's the key. We're looking at utility and then just demand and people wanting something because it's desirable to have and to hold, like a digital store of value. I'm going to have some exposure to it. You're going to see why. Now, today, we had Gary Goldman Gensler testifying in Congress today, and there's 3 questions we know to never ask. 1, we know never ask a woman her age. Never ask a man his salary, and never ask Gary Gensler what is a security. I love it. And right here from Eleanor Tarrant says, Senator Haggerty referencing the grayscale ruling in today's testimony. He asked Gensler what the SEC needs to see in order to approve a Bitcoin spot ETF. Gensler replied, we're still reviewing that decision. We have multiple filings. We're reviewing them and looking forward to staff's recommendations. Oh, what a push on the answer there. Kicking the can down the road. Well, here's a clip we have for you. Take a listen to this.
And help protect Americans from the crypto abuses that cost consumers billions.
If they were to live up to the investor protection built into their current laws, it would help investors. But right now, unfortunately, there's significant non-compliance, and it's a field which is rife with fraud, abuse, and misconduct.
Well, I have to say, so Gary Gensler says crypto is full of fraud. I actually agree with him. Let's start with Exhibit A, the SEC itself, right? Because that regulation through enforcement is a fraud. Right? That regulation through enforcement is to suppress the market. It is to hold down the innovators so the legacy firms can come in and buy up their hard work and the infrastructure for pennies on a dollar, because I firmly believe the SEC is under regulatory capture from Gary Goldman Gensler. And right here is an old throwback clip here, and this is why I always say I'm stacking my pennies next to their dollars. Once you break the paradigm and fall in step with the powers that be and out of step with the masses, you can make a lot of money. And until I see real world assets tokenized and tokenization, this ride hasn't even truly begun. And that is the truth. Take a listen to this clip.
On September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. And that's not illegal.
He says it's a fraud.
It says he'll fire anyone that buys it. Yes.
And at the same time, his company is buying it.
His company is buying it.
It's called talking your book.
It's just, so unethical.
Right.
Okay, George Soros.
George Soros, in January 24th, price was already down, calls Bitcoin a bubble, says Bitcoin is the worst, the worst investment in the world. Don't buy Bitcoin. Don't buy Bitcoin. Basically throws gasoline on the fire at this point. And then what do we find out? So he says bubble here.
It drops 44%.
Right. And then here in April, 2 months later, guess what we find out?
Yeah.
His $26 billion family office has approval to buy cryptocurrency.
Right. And we only knew about it publicly here. And this is the kind of thing that George Soros is famous for this, talking the sterling down.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He stole the pensions of all the little people.
Yeah, made $1 billion.
Yeah. Okay.
So then here now, Goldman Sachs, this, again, February 7th, most cryptocurrencies will crash to zero. Now, I remember when they said this in February, and I had, through my network, I knew that Goldman Sachs was setting up a crypto trading desk. Absolutely knew they were setting up a crypto trading desk. And
I remember you telling me that.
Right. And then, of course, they were denying it. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. Price falls down 27%. And then what do we find out? We find out here, they say BTC 0. And then we find out just before May, new trading desk. Not only that, they put $400 million to buy a cryptocurrency trading platform.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's where I got to get back to my discipline core tenets to investing. Regardless of the apprehension I have about Bitcoin, whether it is the, understanding that Homeland Security has interviewed the Satoshis, but yet other government agencies like the CFTC and the SEC act like they don't know it. Or whether we're talking about the 256 SHA-256 algorithm that's a core part of Bitcoin, which is patented by the NSA. Now, by default, I had an audience member share with me that doesn't necessarily mean because the SHA-256 algorithm was used that it's totally controlled by Bitcoin. But there is a shadow of doubt and concern that you're using something that was patented by the NSA, knowing that all of this has been packaged in an anti-bank, anti-establishment movement. But when I see BlackRock at 10 trillion in assets under management, Fidelity at 4.5, Franklin Templeton at 1.5, Invesco at 1.5, Wisdom Tree at 87 billion, Van Eck at 61 billion, Global X, you get it, ARK Invest, Bitwise, Valkyrie. When I see all of these entities taking a position to make sure that they can get applications in for the approval of a spot ETF for Bitcoin, I cannot ignore it as an investor. Now, this is not financial advice, but I have agreed personally for myself internally that I would share my digital perspectives on this channel. So I am going against my apprehension and I'm following the powers that be regardless and getting some exposure. Now, I'm not going to get crazy with it, but I am going to get some exposure there. Now, in the meantime, we all know that I've got exposure to XRP. Let's see what Dark Defender says about price here. He says, hi there. We discussed XRP stop 93 cents, named as Wave 1, proceeding with Wave 2 corrective. On the 2nd of September, we called the final support in sight of 46 cent and 39 cent. XRP is now hovering on the 46 support line, and it says if we see below this final support, we'll be at 39 cents. Then I expect Wave 2 correction to be over, and Wave 3 targets of $1.88 and $5.85 will be in play. So we want to watch and see if we slip down and hit that 39 cents before we maybe have some kind of a mega pump. So keep your eyes peeled. No one knows what the answer is, but we know this: we're in this space and we're early, and we realize that the powers that be are taking massive positions in this market regardless of the suppression that's happening today. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.